Hey, I'm Khalila McCoy, and you're listening to the show that makes rising feel possible. This is Where We Rise. Hey there, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me. Before we get into our conversation, I want to shout out Galleon0164 from Apple Podcasts, who left a review that reads, "This podcast warms my soul. The host is genuine and the topics are relevant to everyone. I recommend this to everyone. I want to hang out with Khalila and DJ." Thank you so much for those kind words, Galleon, and for spreading the word about the show. DJ and I have a great time together, so I'm glad that came through in our episode. I'm also already thinking about another episode that we can do together pretty soon. Galleon, you mentioned that the topics have been relevant to everyone, so I think you're really going to enjoy hearing from Greg Arnold today. This episode was fun for me, and I was also a little nervous because this was the first time I recorded with someone who I didn't know at all. Greg reached out and shared that he wants to step into keynote speaking and to spread a message of self-worth over self-doubt, something that he's had to work on in his own life. So I was excited to see where he would take the conversation and what he wanted to share. I came ready to listen and to learn. So let's check it out. How are you today, Greg?
Oh, just swell. Thank you for having me. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm really excited for you to be on the show today. And we talked about this. I don't know you. This is our first time meeting. So just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, so right now I am somebody that is trying to essentially make it as a full-time speaker, mindset, motivational speaker. But who I am is I am a pro arm wrestler, and I've also done voice acting on the side. But right now I kind of have a normal 9 to 5 day job that's just kind of like helping keep the roof over our heads. But yeah, right now I'm trying to scale to where I become my own boss and just have all that freedom and financial freedom and just be able to spend all the time that I want with my family.
Yeah, that's great. So for the listeners, before we push record, you and I were talking about jobs and you were talking about your voiceover job. You did not say that you were a professional arm wrestler. So that is so cool. I feel like I'm already thinking will he come back and we can just talk about his awesome job. So I don't want to derail us from what we're talking about, but definitely putting a pin in professional arm wrestler because I did not know that was a thing. And that's so cool to meet somebody who does that.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a unique formula. I'm really blessed that I got to that I've been able to be part of these these facets of my life, and each of those things that I'm part of, whether it's voiceover or arm wrestling, it's definitely shaped me to being the the thinker, I guess you call him solopreneur, or the aspiring solopreneur, and just the kind of the man that I am today. And I'm just really excited to kind of explain what all transpired and how I got here.
Yeah, let's jump into it. So tell us about who you were before the journey.
So beforehand, kind of looking back to when I was a kid, I was somebody that looked functional, looked normal, just normal, okay kid on the outside, but I was constantly at war with myself from an internal standpoint because I kind of taught myself early on to stay under the radar and, not take too much space out of the fear of making mistakes in front of people, whether it's my teachers or peers or even my parents at times. Because when I was a cesarean when I was born, and they actually dropped me back in, my mother, and I had a lot of fluid going into my ear and in my lungs, suffered pneumonia. Long story short, the fluid that was in my ears, they didn't discover that I wasn't able to hear for most of it until I was about 2 or so. Suffice to say, that rendered me with kind of an auditory processing disorder.
Okay.
And because of that, I did not have the communication, the language skills as I was growing up. So it made me fall behind within my peers. I was able to kind of compensate and be like a great speller. I was pretty good with numbers, but school was always such a challenge that it took me a lot longer to grasp the material, like slower than most of the class. And I would get ridiculed by either my peers or even my teachers, thinking like, "Oh, you're just not paying attention. You're just not paying attention." Like I was kind of looked at as not really the bad kid, but just somebody that really needs extra help. Maybe need to be held back. So it really flared up my inferiority complex, and I thought, okay, in order for me to remain safe, I got to remain quiet. So that way, it's kind of a be thought of as a fool, then to remove all doubt once you speak up. That's
right.
that's been my personality throughout my school, my school career, college, and even work. When I was like even 15 years ago. But anyway, what kind of transpired me to realize that I needed to change, because it really did get bad to the point where I isolated myself, and because of my auditory processing issue, I wasn't able to communicate very well with the other kids. So it was very daunting to try and make friends. So I would isolate myself a lot. But I learned how to communicate really good when I was able to convince my father and my mother, even despite her leaving my dad and myself when they got divorced. But I finished high school online my last 2 years of high school, and from there I was able to do a lot of typing, a lot of communicating. It kind of increased my confidence a little bit, not only because I was safe, but also it kind of forced me to develop more technological social skills. So like even though it's not like ideal, but it's at least something. From there, I was able to kind of increase my self-esteem just a little bit, but I still had quite a bit of work to do, that I still felt so isolated that I faced depression and even suicidal ideation.
Can we go back a little bit to like your childhood when you're going through that? Were you getting support?
Yes. So I did go to a couple of speech therapists.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of what they had at their disposal. I mean, they did diagnose me with that, but yeah, they just thought, okay, well, maybe you just need more time with speech therapy. And I think it helped me, like in retrospect, I think it did help me a little bit to do, I guess, the barest essentials when it comes to school. And now that we're talking about it, I kind of remember what my teachers did. But my mom and my dad had kind of an arrangement with my teachers, especially 4th through 6th grade, that you remember, like when we had these agenda planners, like back when we were in school.
Yeah.
You would have to like write down what the homework assignments are. I would have to write them down, and the teacher would have to initialize it. This is like back before we had all that the technology to where parents can check it. My teacher had to initialize it to make sure that I didn't miss anything. So
right,
that
you
way
actually
my parents
wrote it down.
Yeah, so that I actually did hear every command. So that was the extent of support, and it was They did their best for what was available back in the 90s.
Right.
So,
you said that you had some peers that were rude to you and kind of bullying you along the way.
Yeah.
Is that kind of where you felt like most of your criticism came from?
A lot of it came from not necessarily the disorder itself, but more so of me isolating myself and not being able to make friends. And because that I was a lone wolf, for lack of a better term, I was more of a target. Like that they thought that, okay, well, if I'm not part of a clique, see, my school district, it was pretty cliquey. And if you weren't part of something, some kind of a, I don't know what you call it, faction, or an athletic on a team, then you were kind of looked at as, okay, what's this guy's deal? He's very weird. Oh, I wonder how he'll react if we kind of harass him or push his buttons. But because now maybe some kids probably wanted to befriend me, and I'm sure like a few did, but because I never got I was always pretty socially inept. I was never able to differentiate between a friend and someone who is trouble. So I always was on the defense.
Right.
So I never really made too much of an effort, even though that, yes, I did get ridiculed, especially in middle school. Because
middle school is rough. Middle
school was worse than high school. But,
yeah. It's an interesting time. Like, I feel like none of the kids really know who they are yet or what they, are doing with themselves. And they just decide to pick on each other.
Yeah, and it's just, I never really knew how to emotionally process. I mean, and I guess what teenager does.
No,
but I just really felt that I was never understood. I was never confident that I was going to be heard by the right people, and it was kind of like the narrative back in the late 90s, early 2000s that, okay, if you saw a psychologist or whatever, then that means something is more wrong with you than what you're already
it's
already
very
told.
Different than today.
Yes, like there was this stigma right away. So suffice it to say, I internalized everything, and something that I learned and that I'm wanting to like relay in my mindset speaking. But if you are internalizing everything, if you keep everything in silent, you're going to have intruders like in your head, like intrusive thoughts. They, oh man, I'm so so dumb. Why? Why? But but it's like if you don't speak them out loud, then they're going to basically stay in your brain and kind of have a cup of tea, not only knock on the door, but like come in and, make themselves at home, just kind of squat in your brain. But what I learned is if I'm verbalizing something, it doesn't necessarily stay in your head. It's just kind of like interfering for lack of a better term. And like that's something that's been able to help me in recent times. So that's what I mean by internalizing everything and just kind of having a conversation with yourself, even, and just kind of processing. But yeah, I think we kind of got I kind of got a little off the topic there. But
no, you're great. So tell us how that transferred. So childhood, middle school, kind of like a loner, not really feeling understood, not feeling seen. And you said even with your parents at home, they didn't really know how to support you.
Right. So my childhood life is my father was he was the breadwinner, but not only was he the breadwinner, but he had to travel every single week. He owned a healthcare consulting firm, so he would be gone from Sunday and come back, or Sunday through Thursday, because he kind of had no choice because my mother really was not responsible financially. So she would spend very, I don't want to say recklessly, but I guess reckless is as good a word as any. And so it kind of forced my dad to overcompensate for it. And so I spent most of my time with my mother until I was like the age of 14, like from the time I was 5 or 6 to about 14, and I would see my dad a few days a week, and unless he wasn't like on a project where he was able to still like work from home. But a lot of times, if he had to make money quickly, like he would offer to take on a project, and what his company would do is they would go to certain like hospitals that are maybe in the process of installing a new computer system, and he kind of project manages when the new software kind of goes live, and like whether it's the radiology department, ER, pharmacy, and he consults them on like, hey, here's the best software for it, here's the best protocol for this, let me know what issues there are. So but anyway, that's what he would have to do. And I wasn't raised by my father much until like they divorced, because I stayed with my dad when they divorced when I was going on 15.
Okay.
And so, but he still had to work. So from the time I was almost 16 till about 18, I had the house to myself throughout the week. So
Wow.
while I was doing my my schoolwork.
Okay.
But I loved it because I didn't have to worry about the hive mind of school, the peers. I could just concentrate because I still had the identity that I wanted to be something in life. Like when I grew up, I didn't know what, but I knew that I wanted to at least graduate high school, go to college, and get a degree from there. And I knew that I wasn't academically doing good in public school, so it took a lot of convincing of my father to, that for me to allow me to try the program, and that was the only time I ever got straight A's.
Okay.
Was
what was the
going there.
program?
So it was called ECOT. It doesn't exist anymore. It's called Electronic Classroom of Tomorrow. Originated in Columbus, but they actually this was like back in 2007, 2008 that I attended, but yeah, just like 2 years ago, I think is when it shut down. But
was it like a homeschool type of situation, or you actually went there?
This was homeschool. Like I was at home, but online there were teachers that some of them would have live lectures. Most of my teachers, they did not. They would just have like modules of lessons, and then you would like watch like videos and read through material. Then you'd get quizzed on that material. You would have to write some papers, do something that's kind of like productive, like outside. Like it was a lot more.
So different types of learning at your own pace. Yeah. It sounds like it was perfect for you. Then you said you got straight A's.
Yes.
And then I'm sure like feeling that you're a loner, then you're like, oh, well, this is perfect because I could just be by myself and focus on what I want to focus on.
Exactly. And but it was also good for me from a kind of a growth standpoint because my dad had to travel and I had the house to myself. He said that, okay, you need, laundry needs to be done. Make sure these dishes are done. Of course, the pets are taken care of. Fine. Clean the pool like during the summer. He taught me a lot of responsibilities of a typical adult when I was like 15 and 16, and that was definitely it gave me some perspective on an appreciation for what my father and even my mother had done for me, before I was a teen. So it gave me a sense of structure and responsibility, which was definitely something that I needed. But yeah, even during all that, I still only appraised my worth based off of whether I was in a relationship, because then we started getting into the age of MySpace and the very beginning of Facebook. Everyone's just, every one of my peers are just, gloating about their boyfriend, girlfriend. And, and so it also kind of gave me the, oh man, I need to be I need to find somebody, but I don't know how. So it made me do a lot of, online dating and but so that was definitely
online dating back then. That sounds like it could be kind of sketchy.
I mean, it's sketchy.
I mean,
now.
it still is now. Yes, definitely now. But I mean, like back, I think of AOL Instant Messenger and things like that.
Yeah, Yahoo Personals, like that was a thing back then. But oh man, that definitely is
So how did that go for you? Did you date?
Yeah. So I did have a couple of relationships, like long distance relationships, and met them, and they were great, but it's pretty hard, like in a distance, and not being able to. It's really hard to regulate your emotions, when you are not actually physically with that person, like at any given time. So. Suffice to say,
and this is still when you're a teenager, right?
Yeah, I was still 17.
So you're still trying to
18.
figure out what a relationship is.
I did not have the emotional maturity to maintain a relationship, a serious one. But anyway, while I was trying to like navigate through that and my own emotions, December 20th of 2008 is when my mother passed.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was pretty unexpected. So, and I spent a little bit of time blaming myself, not necessarily that of her death, but because that I wasn't around, because I still had a little bit of maybe not anger, but more hurt because she's the one that left my dad and myself to go be with someone else. And it just kind of made me feel like that she abandoned me because she never asked me to go with her. But I mean, in retrospect, now looking back, I mean, I know why, but you know, it's
still her at that moment. Yeah,
definitely. And now, because she and I weren't quite getting along, like before she left, before she divorced my father, I would have chosen. I was kind of old enough at that point, you know, going on 15 to decide who I want to stay with, and I stayed with my dad, and that was definitely the better decision for sure. You know, like for my personal growth. But going back to 2008, that I definitely spent a lot of time trying to fulfill like a real huge void that I was still trying to fill, and I didn't really look into myself as to why I felt that I need. I just kept finding external factors to kind of superficially fill whatever void is within me, and I never looked into myself. I think in a way I was afraid I was always going to be, or I had a fear of always being alone if I didn't find somebody. So I found one person, a person during the online dating, but we did end up living together for a little bit. It was like my first very serious relationship. But after like a month and a half of dating, you know, she started to become slowly verbally abusive, and just everything that like went wrong tied back to something that I did or that I didn't do. So that just exacerbated any feelings of low self-esteem that I had before, to say like there's just so much wrong with me. Like there's no way that I'm destined for, you know, good things in life. I don't deserve it. I just was my own worst enemy, to simply put. It's like it's just I never ever wanted to cut myself a break, and even the accolades that I got, I would find a way to minimize them, thinking like, oh well, you know, either I got lucky or it's something that most people can do. Like I'm nothing spectacular. I learned to recluse enough because it was always very humiliating for me to either lose something or make a mistake, that I would try to overcompensate and kind of conceal any of my shortcomings by just being very, very productive in like other matters. That definitely showed in my day job. But long story short, you know, I ended up breaking up with the verbally abusive person, and I was probably single for like 3 months. I had still been paying a lease off of that apartment, but I went back to living with my father and his second wife, and I met my now wife, you know, like 2011. So we've been dating for almost 15 years, and like that was kind of a turning point, meeting her. So it kind of took her to kind of grant or kind of giving me a couple of tools to realize that, you know, it's important for me to work on myself. It's important to practice self-compassion, because, you know, without it, then you're not going to be able to sufficiently be compassionate towards other people, or, you know, especially to the people you love.
Yeah. What was it in you that really wanted a relationship? Because kind of hearing you talk, like, I'm a loner and I didn't really see myself as having any self-worth. I didn't see myself as, you know, being good enough in any area. what was it that you felt was really like, okay, well, like, I am willing to get into like a romantic relationship with someone?
So yeah, funny story. So when I split up with that first serious relationship, that was verbally abusive, I vowed that I was not going to get in another relationship. Like it just was not worth the effort. I was still pretty numb.
Right.
And I don't know, I still went on those sites to just kind of have like a companion and just kind of be able to vet my issues, find a friend is kind of what I was
hoping
looking
for.
at. I did not intend to pursue a relationship, but anyway, so I'd been talking with her, and I talked with her for like maybe 3 weeks. We had a lot of commonalities. I liked her demeanor. She carried on with humor, and I guess I never really thought about this until you asked. But what was it? But I liked when you asked, what is it about you wanting to get into the relationship that you want to provide? Now that I'm thinking about it, is I felt that I had been so torn in my life and abandoned and neglected that I guess in a way I was trying to fix myself by helping other people. And I guess that's probably one way of doing it, but also because, well, here's another reason. As an observer, I observed my dad always being very affectionate with my mother, and showing that affection and being very grateful for like every meal that she makes, like without skipping a beat. So I obviously learned by example from that as well. So I did have the aspiration
like that model,
to show. Yeah, I did have that, and I guess I wanted to provide that safe space for people that I felt that I didn't quite get. So I longed for that companionship and relationship like that, just so maybe, just maybe, if I find someone that loves me, then maybe I will believe that I deserve to be loved.
Did you realize at the time that you were a compassionate, caring person, or was it just like, whatever?
I definitely realized that I was somebody that, kind of wore my heart on my sleeve, back then, just because. So I knew that I had compassionate traits, like a lot of compassionate traits towards other people. Myself,
but not towards
really.
yourself.
Not towards myself. And here was kind of a turning point on what made me decide to shift my mindset, or at least realize that it's important to kind of make a change. But I would, even out loud, I would say like, well, I'm such an idiot, or like why didn't I know better? And just very like verbally and internally just berate myself, and it's like, honestly, if you extracted everything, like from my brain, and you hear it like in audio form, you would just think there was abuse going on. But I remembered one instance that I was kind of ranting towards my wife, well, it was my girlfriend at the time, but and she got angry with me, and then I'm like, why are you angry? I'm not talking about you. I'm not even talking to you. It's like, but I don't want you talking that way, towards you. Like it's not okay. You shouldn't think that it's okay. And it puzzled me. And so I remember like coming home from school, like one of my last semesters of college. I remember like driving back home, and it's like saying, she cares about me a lot. Clearly, she actually stood up for me, and so that's just the kind of person she is, even against myself. So, and it made me think like, so she would defend me because she doesn't want seeing me hurt, and I'm also capable of hurting myself, so she'll defend me against me. So it was something that she couldn't articulate, but then I realized it, and I told her that little epiphany, and she said, that's exactly it. Oh my God. Like, I'm so proud of you, for discovering that. So it got me cognizant on why it's important to self-care, but I still had a lot of work to do because I kind of had a little bit of atrophy with knowing how to practice self-care, and it's still been like, a decade of trying like various things, getting some therapy, talking with people and trying to practice, like gratitude, internal validations, and so on and so forth. Because the way I started to see it is, okay, maybe I don't value myself just yet, but I can value that I'm trying. And then the way I see it is, my father's my best friend, my wife is my best friend, and those two, do they deserve to have me at my best? And yes, of course. So I think it's important to, start to incorporate self-love in my life. So that's kind of what snowballed this mindset transformation, and it's definitely been a big journey, but I'm really proud of how far I've come along.
Yeah. What types of steps did you incorporate, or were they like, I know different people say like different mantras during the day, or because it sounds like you had a lot of negative talk to yourself. So I'm assuming that had to be one of the big changes that you made.
Yeah. So one of the big changes is, one, I try to surround myself with as many encouraging and positive people as possible, because just like, you kind of become what you eat. If you eat so much junk, then you feel so sluggish.
Right.
And same goes with maybe the things we watch on TV or like any media. If we're doom scrolling, we may come across something that we don't like, something that's like grim. I have minimized that, a considerable amount, and I've kind of tried focusing on what's here and what's now. Like in my world, it's like, more so than what's happening here, like on my, on the phone or social media.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a great tool to, catch up with people, but we end up immersing ourselves into
comparing ourselves.
So many different pathways there that just, one, that have nothing to do with us, and two, that just overload our mind to where, and I think most people don't realize this, but if we're doom scrolling, we're still processing so much information. We may think that we're taking a break, but I think that's a preconceived notion that we're kind of utilizing our mental fuel that. And if we see something that's like very draining or something that's dramatic, we end up, our motivation just gets so deflated, and and it just kind of it shifts our mood for the remainder of the day. So suffice it to say, what I started doing is just keeping my phone down as much as possible. Like the only time I'm using it is like I'm checking notifications or checking emails. If I'm messaging specifically to people, like and if I happen to see like some kind of troubling news and I see people reposting and how outraged they are, it's like, I don't need to be as outraged as they are. I'm not saying that what's going on out there isn't serious, but what can I do about it? It's like, what can we individually do about that? I mean,
I think there's a big difference too, like seeing something being outraged on social media with all the people posting their negativity and whatever view they come in, versus like actually sitting with the real people that in your community and trying to talk it through and solve that problem. Because I think you get sucked into the negativity a lot easier online. And I know I've seen, some people don't agree with that. I was like, but I don't watch the news. When certain things come up, I won't look at certain people's posts because it just, it makes you sad and it makes it heavy. And like I went through a period of like, anxiety just watching and listening to what other people are saying. And I'm like, well, this person lives, miles away from me. I don't know who they are, but reading what they said has ruined my day. And I'm allowing that in every day by just scrolling through my phone. I don't have to.
Exactly. I mean, you definitely hit the nail on the head when you said there's a difference between being outraged and just, saying your piece and just very frustrated, just like altering your mood for the rest of the day. There's a difference between that and actually trying to solve a problem. Like instead of just saying what the problem is, it's like, oh my god, my God, my car has a check engine light. Oh, like what is going on? Like, oh my, woe is me. But there's a difference between that and just say, all right, so my check engine light is on, so let's check. Can we check the oil? What could possibly be wrong? Instead of like being inquisitive about it, like there's a big difference between just complaining and just leaving it at that, and then relaying the issue and say like, so now what? What do we do?
Yes.
So yeah, it's like that. That's another tactic that I've done, and trying to incorporate self-forgiveness and just like letting go of things that have been weighing heavy on me. It could be a mistake that like I made today, something very similar, or maybe I forgot to check the KFC food and be like, oh man, my wife got Dr. Pepper instead of Sprite, whatever the case might be. Just like sometimes even trivial things would kind of aggravate me and like, what was I thinking? But this is why I did it. This is why it happened. And just trying to kind of have mistakes. Like a little discourse. This was the resource I had at the time. This was the circumstance. But here's what I learned from it. And once you acknowledge what you have taken from it, you either win or you learn, which is what I learned in arm wrestling. But you either win or you learn, and it's just so easy from there to kind of, just go ahead and then say, all right, I'm ready to let go. I forgive myself, so I'm ready to move on. Just and it's not excusing any mistake that you made, but it's the fact that, hey, I've taken accountability, but I'm not going to allow myself to suffer and dwell.
Right. I like that. It's accountability and it's reflective. So when you come into that situation again, you have something in your tool belt to help you. Like, okay, well, last time I was in this situation, I did this. I did not like it. This is how I can move on.
Exactly. And that's definitely for those trying to rewire your mindset, going from self-doubt to self-worth. I experienced that a lot in pro arm wrestling, and I'll tell you why that I experienced a lot of lack of self-esteem at first, because my father is also a pro arm wrestler. He's been in the sport for like over 40 years. He actually was so good. Like he was a very prominent figure in the tri-state and even some national level as well.
Okay.
He had won a couple of national titles. He got third in the world in the late 80s. And he also
so cool.
like he's a legend in the eyes of his generation and even my generation. He's definitely so he taught me it. He still trains me in the sport, and because I haven't achieved as many accolades as he has, I put him on a high pedestal, but sometimes at the expense of myself. Thinking like, oh man, I got to measure up, or otherwise I'm nothing. I'm just Bill Arnold's kid. But
right,
yeah, but
that pressure.
Yes, but eventually I got to shift my mindset. I had like a good talk with my dad on how he never pressured me to like succeed or anything, but it was how we bonded, because he and I would go travel nationwide together to competitions. We definitely made a lot of memories. I mean, we still do, like, because I still compete and train. But I was so busy chasing perfection that it just killed my motivation of even wanting to get out there. But now I've learned how to chase momentum instead of perfection. And here was a real crowning turning point in my in not only my professional arm wrestling career, but just my mindset in general. Okay. So there was this guy that was number one in the state of Ohio, and Ohio is where I live. So he had been in the sport for like maybe 4 years, and he's achieved a lot. He won pretty prestigious titles like in the state and tri-state area, and he would easily beat guys that are even higher caliber than me, just stronger, just very fierce competitors. And out of the blue, he reaches out to me and say, "Hey, I was wondering, would you like to, will you accept a challenge for me in this particular arm?" And then I'm like, well, in light of you just beating this guy, you might be a little out of my league, but if this is what you really want, then I was about to shy away from it, and then I'm like, you know what? This is an opportunity for me to
Let's go for it.
Go out there and say, like, you know what? I lose, so what? And in retrospect, he didn't really have anything to gain by beating me, but I will say arm wrestling is a very niche kind of sport, and it involves a lot of different technique. And because I had been part of the sport for on and off about 20 years, I'm kind of like I did start to build a reputation for myself in that state, and thought, oh well, if you beat Greg, then you're well on your way. I guess I was I was still a stepping stone.
Okay.
Now ranking wise, he didn't really have anything to gain by beating me still in the left arm, but nonetheless, he knew that he hasn't competed against someone that had not only my experience but also my various techniques. Like I was not a one trick pony, if you will. So I told my dad about the matchup, and he's like, well, I mean, and this is the first time he's actually said this to me in the 20 years that he and I have trained together. But he said, I don't see you winning this match. However, let's just see. But you said, but you know what, Greg, let this be an opportunity that see how great you can get, and how much you can really bulldoze through like your PRs, your records, and just see how strong you can get. And for 2.5 to 3 months, was how long I had time to train for before the match, and I did like random lots of dumbbell holds, and I more than doubled my record of holding for like 30 seconds. I was breaking through max lifts and doing like so many different things. Like we kind of had a plan A, plan B, and plan C on what to do for this guy. We studied this guy, watched some video reels of him, and super strong guy, but he really was, I guess you would call a one-trick pony. He was really strong in this one position. So even though, like, going into it, I wasn't confident that I was going to win, but I did win.
Yay,
and here's how it happened. What it all came down to is, I felt, okay, well, it may not be enough, but I'm going to tell you, I turned from fear of being ostracized by by the spectators of that event. I turned that to excitement to see. I can't wait to showcase how far I've come. Maybe it's not, it's probably not going to be enough for me to win, but I want them to see, like, hey, I want to at least make him really work for it. Like, that was my goal, to make him work for it. So what that taught me is the amount of commitment that you provide for yourself for at least 3 weeks, try 3 months. I think that's what's going to ultimately determine your level of success. Like, we're so results driven, like immediate results driven, that if we don't see something right away, we get easily discouraged. It goes now we're living in a time, an advanced technology time, that we're expected to be rewarded.
Gratification, yes,
exactly. But that's not how that's not long lasting. So it's. But anyway, that was the lesson that taught me. It was just a bonus that I happened to win, and that's how I became number one in the state of Ohio. And I'm like, wow. So
I have the number one pro wrestler on my podcast. Wow,
just in the state, in the state.
Well, yes, in the state, yes. But
I still got a lot of work to do.
Cool.
but just seeing me leveling up, and it may not be, it's not always going to be the result that you want, but if you are chasing simply being the best that you can be, period, then that's all that matters. I mean, just be a better version, than you were yesterday, last week, last month, and just really chart how far you've come, just to really reinforce the fruits of your labor. So that was a huge turning point in my confidence. And it's like, I want to teach like other arm wrestlers, other like young students or young adults, high school students that may feel like I did, when I was younger and feeling alone. It's like, listen, like there are other ways, and confidence is not a trait that you have, because I used to think confidence was just something you were either born with, or it's just a trait, or you just simply have to manifest it, or you have to fake it till you make it. No, it is a muscle that you work, essentially. I mean, it is something that you work consistently. And that unlocked. It's like, even if I was given, even if, like, now I embrace challenges instead of running away from them. So that's,
which is a big shift.
Yes. So that's the transformation that I want to provide to people, but I also want to inspire other people that feel, down and defeated within themselves, that it does not have to be that way. Like, that may be a story that you've told yourself in the past, but that does not have to be the one that you keep writing or you keep living. So it's like I am living proof that you can rebuild your purpose and thrive, and just there's always time for a fresh start.
So for someone who's listening and it's like, okay, I struggle with self-confidence and I'm hearing his story and it sounds great, but he had arm wrestling to help him through. I don't have that. Like, what would you say to that person?
That's a very, very good question. So the way I looked at it is, arm wrestling, I did not start off being good at it. Like, I was super skinny. I was a skinny 150 pounder. I would easily get manhandled. Like, I would hold my own against like other teens, but adults and especially pros, I lost so many times. Like, I got humiliated so many times. So like that match that I was telling you about, this happened, I think it was August of 2025. Okay. So this was very, very recent, and I'd been in the sport for almost 20 years. So it took me a couple of decades to unlock my biggest potential. So I will say to the people that, okay, I don't have arm wrestling. I mean, it's like, okay, well, that's fine. Well, what do you have? What do you want to excel in? Like, what do you feel is pulling you? So, and if that's something you want to master, then find different paths to get you good at. Like, maybe you want to, maybe you just like want to lose weight or something. Internally validate yourself by not what the number says on that scale, but the fact that you spent you spent the first 3 days making much better dietary choices, that you got to be more active instead of sitting on the couch for like the last hour. You decide to go for a walk, or you decide to go for a run, or do some dancing, something. So
like celebrate the little things that you do along the way.
Interim goals. Celebrate every interim goal. So like, I think people look at it as, okay, what does the destination look like? Oh man, that's so far, I'm not going to be able to do it. It's like, okay, well, see how close you can get it. How close can you build, and how fast can you go? And once you start, and chart them too, whatever it is you do, whether it's a workout, whether it's trying to lose weight, or whether you're an entrepreneur and you want to reach out to clients, see how many people you reach out to, and assess what works and what doesn't. If you want to master something, I mean, you gotta be great at it. Now, to be great at it, you have to be decent at it. To be decent at it, you got to be bad at it. To be bad at it, you got to actually do it. So my tip, do it. If something is pulling you, do something. Ask people that are well known in the industry, or people that have lived that life. Learn from them. Watch tutorials on YouTube. Ask if you can audit like a course of their, I don't know, whatever the case might be.
And it's surprising, like, how willing people are. Like, you'll get your no's and stuff, and like the people who are like at you like, why are you here? But there are people who are willing to help and support. Like, you want to help somebody, you want to mentor other people. there are people out there more than you would think.
Yes. I love being able to help people like whenever they ask, because it's like, you know, I know what it's like when I felt like I was without a paddle or that I was too nervous to take that step. What can I expect going into it? I like being a mentor for a few people, because, you know, I look young, but at the same time, I've been around the block a bunch of times when it comes to that sport. So all this to say, echoing what you were saying, people enjoy helping. I enjoy helping when it comes to training for arm wrestling, being in a sport, or getting in the right mindset as an athlete or as an actor. Like, I'm privileged that I got to be part of a couple of different, different industries, because it taught me resilience. Because I would send 100. Let's say I would send 100 emails, auditions, and whatnot, and I would get one, maybe 2 jobs out of the 100. So it's a numbers game. It is a timing game.
I have a question about that. So I find that so interesting. So someone who has so much self-doubt, right, who is talking negative to themselves, I find it very interesting that you would pick an industry that rejects you and tells you no. So how did you balance that?
Well, that's a very good question, because there were times where I felt I couldn't, because in the beginning, when I didn't really have anywhere to go but up, I was still aware that I was expected the rejection, because like I was still new.
Okay.
As I started to get a few titles, like small titles, it would start to give me the impression, okay, well, I'm able to do it. But then you have other people that maybe they're not looking for you, not because like you did a bad job, but because, you know, you're just not the vocal print that they're looking for. It does get
so it's not
hard.
personal,
right? Like it's about. I mean, in the entertainment industry, I mean, you're gonna meet across a couple of people that are, you know, unpleasant, you know, to put it politely. And I guess that's every industry, honestly.
Yeah,
but
unfortunately.
But I don't know. It was hard to balance, and whenever I would particularly be hard on myself, I simply would step away, take a break, take a hiatus, like even if it's like a few days, because the reality is voiceover is and was a part-time endeavor, and I don't know, I simply tried to make as many outlets available for me as humanly possible. Like, I would love to go out running, like around like the neighborhood block. We have a Siberian Husky, you know, we got to keep we got to keep him
you
active.
have to keep him active, yes.
Yes. So it was motivation for me to go out running, or you know, even punch a pillow, like if I'm feeling like feeling angry. But after being in the voiceover industry for 10 years, and you hear it so much, like in the beginning, you kind of subconsciously learn that, okay, it's not personal, but I mean it sucks, but it's not personal at the same time. Yeah. And yeah, it taught me a lot. I would still once in a blue moon think like, oh well, maybe I didn't deserve those roles to begin with. I mean, like I would kind of teeter towards that, but I didn't stay that way. But yeah, voiceover definitely taught you to submit and forget. Just, you know, don't have your heart set to that particular role. And, you know, if door closes, just, you know, look for another one. You know, there might, you know, it might be open, or look for a window even. Like you just never know what is out there for you. And, you know, I kind of been on the an upward trajectory in my mindset, but I would say it was as recent as a half a year ago that I really, really embraced challenges. Like, I'm not just confident that I can get through this issue, but I'm actually embracing it. So that's another transformation.
And you mentioned that, like, your dad and your wife, they're your best friends. Are they very cognizant of this journey that you're going on? Do they push you in any sort of way, or do you still kind of lean on them when you're starting to get self-doubt?
Column A and column B. I mean, it's more column A at this point, but yeah, my wife and my father, they're well aware of my aspirations to be a speaker, and my dad says that he's seen like a huge shift in my mindset and confidence, and I am not timid like I used to be, because like and he's watched me like my whole entire life. He expresses how proud he is of me, and he thinks like, I think it's because you had your daughter, and like, well, I think that's part of it, and because I want her to be as happy and confident and just adventurous and just ready to take on anything, and just not like be fearless, because I don't want her to feel remotely the way that I did. And my wife, she had a pretty rough childhood, that like her parents were never validating to her as well. Like she had to constantly prove herself and be kind of the adult as she became a teenager. And but anyway, so she was a product. So
she has a level of understanding too of what it feels like and what you've gone through. Yes,
she and I have grown together. Like we both have healed one another, and in light of having our daughter, we kind of healed a lot of our childhood trauma as well by taking care of her, being able to learn from it, and just love her the way that we felt that we needed back then. Not saying like that we weren't loved as kids, but just we probably didn't get that. We probably didn't get quite enough. But yeah, so back to I guess back to the premise. I was so timid. I was so broken. I was in a state where I felt I didn't deserve anything, and it took my wife. It may have taken kind of an external factor, but in doing so, it kind of gave me the tools to kind of fix myself, like within. Or for me to fix myself within myself. So all this to say that it's possible for me. It is possible for anyone. Like if they really want to make any kind of transformation in their lives, just start with something that's small. Like internally validate yourself, saying, "Hey, today I chose peace over drama," and then once you start to be a little fundamentally better at looking within yourself, then start going outside in the gratitude. Be like, thank you for this, roof over my head. Thank you for the clean water. Thank you for, the air I breathe, being able to travel. If I'm having a particularly rough day, I will say, I'm so grateful that I'm not incarcerated. Because I gotta,
that's true.
I gotta have my own private restroom. So it's like, it's definitely, it motivates me to, keep my nose clean.
Oh no, I do the same thing.
So it's been a journey. It's been exhausting, but man, it's been very very rewarding, and I know how it feels to kind of be able to breathe again, like within your souls. Like I can't remember when the last time that like when I was a kid, like I would used to very genuinely smile, but then like as I got older, I started to have to either feign it or I feel, okay, well, I fake it until I make it. But now I feel genuinely happy, and I do embrace every challenge because I see a challenge as like an opportunity for me to show up and see what I can gather from it. And I don't have to always have the answer for the problem at that moment. And then the same goes with like anybody else that's having any particular issue. There's nothing wrong with asking for help, asking for a different perspective, and just taking it from there. And it's like You know, like I said, like you either win or you learn.
Or you
like,
learn.
You know,
I like that.
What can you
win or
extract
you learn.
from it?
Yeah. I really enjoyed hearing all of that you had to say. And I also like the perspective coming from a male, because I feel like a lot of times in our society, men don't get a chance to really emote and talk about how they're feeling and what they're going through. And I like that idea of, like, hopefully there's some male listeners out there too, finding strength in what you're saying. Is there anything specific you would say to other males who, feel like, oh, I have to be tough, I have to hide it, I have to keep this inside?
I think what I would have them take away from this is, I hope that what rises in them, if you can, rise the permission to stop punishing yourself for surviving or for trying to learn. And I kind of want them to know that, healing isn't, you're not erasing the past. You cannot change the past, but it's about building a relationship with yourself despite what you have endured that can hold a much better future and hold a much better life than what you had lived. So if you're listening, if you feel like that you're at zero, well, zero is not a sentence. Like, it's not a sentence in prison. It is only a starting point. You do not have to walk it perfectly. In fact, progress is not meant to be linear. Like, if you're doing a workout regimen, you're not gonna max every single lift. I mean, sometimes you've got to let your muscles recover and grow. You might plateau. Maybe you'll take a tiny dip, but give yourself a fair chance, like at least 3 weeks to a month of discipline. Mindset speakers like to say discipline, but I like the term commitment better than discipline. Discipline, okay. When I hear discipline, it's ambiguous. I think, oh, I'm getting in trouble in school. I like commitment better. I like commitment better personally, because you are committing yourself to making some kind of a positive difference. So all this to say, you don't have to progress or walk the perfect path. It's not going to be, but keep walking anyway. You just have to keep walking.
I like that. Keep walking anyway. That's perfect. Great. Well, thank you. I really appreciate your time. I loved you win or you learn. That's something I'm definitely taking away. And then just keep walking. I really love that. So thank you, Greg.
Of course. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
First of all, hearing Greg talk, you can immediately tell why he gets voiceover gigs. His voice is just so cool. But what I really loved about this episode is how deeply it leans into the heart of listening louder. As I listened to Greg share his story, he dropped so many golden nuggets, and here are a few that really stood out to me. Greg said that he wants to, quote, create that safe space for people that I didn't quite get. This isn't the first time we've heard someone on this podcast talk about wanting to help others be better than they were, and it definitely won't be the last. I think that is such an important theme. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have lived the same exact situation as someone else to help them out. You just need compassion. He also encouraged us to be a better version than you were yesterday, and he reminds us that confidence is a muscle you work on, not necessarily something you're born with. So again, not perfection, but reflection and steady growth. And my favorite nugget, you heard me say it in the conversation, was either you win or you learn. I love that mindset. And Greg is all about mindset shifts. And honestly, even in a win, there's still something to learn. So no matter what stage of life you're in, these are the kinds of reminders we need from time to time. Always learning, always rising. Greg's contact information is in the show notes. You can follow him on Instagram, find him on LinkedIn, or connect with him through his website. I had the privilege of continuing the conversation with him after we stopped recording, and he is genuinely a great and funny guy. We stay connected on Facebook, and I wish him and his family the absolute best. All right, y'all. Thanks for spending time with me today. As you move through the rest of your day, I hope you take a moment to listen a little louder to yourself, to the people you love, and to the things that connect us in ways we sometimes forget to notice. I'll meet you back here next time. See ya, bye.